Welcome to part 2 of our AWS CLF-C02 series. If you haven't watched part 1, link is below. Start there first. Let's dive into 65 new practice questions. Question 6. Which AWS entity enables you to privately connect your VPC to an Amazon SQS queue? The options are A. AWS Direct Connect, B. Internet Gateway, C. VPC Gateway Endpoint, D. VPC Interface Endpoint. This question is asking how to connect your VPC to SQS privately without going through the public internet. The key word is privately, meaning the traffic should stay within the AWS network using a secure, private connection. Think about which type of VPC endpoint is used for most AWS services like SQS. The correct answer is D, VPC Interface Endpoint. VPC Interface Endpoint enables customers to privately connect to supported AWS services like SQS using AWS Private Link. Traffic between your Amazon VPC and SQS does not leave the Amazon network, and your VPC instances do not require public IP addresses to communicate with SQS. There are two types of VPC endpoints, interface endpoints, for most AWS services including SQS, and gateway endpoints, only for S3 and DynamoDB. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because AWS Direct Connect is used to establish a dedicated private connection from your on-premises data center to AWS, not for connecting VPC to AWS services like SQS. Option B is wrong because an internet gateway enables your VPC to communicate with the public internet, which is not a private connection method. Option C is wrong because VPC Gateway Endpoint only supports S3 and DynamoDB, not Amazon SQS. Remember, gateway equal S3 and DynamoDB only. Interface equal everything else. SQS needs interface endpoint. Question 7. Threat detection is of paramount importance for security in the cloud. Which AWS service offers this key feature? The options are A. Amazon Inspector, B. AWS Cloud HSM, C. AWS Shield, D. Amazon Guard Duty. This question is asking which AWS service is mainly focused on detecting threats and suspicious activity in your AWS accounts and workloads. Think about a service that monitors logs and events to identify possible attacks or compromised resources. The correct answer is D. Amazon Guard Duty. Amazon Guard Duty is a threat detection service that monitors for malicious activity and anomalous behavior to protect AWS accounts, workloads, and data. Guard Duty continuously monitors your AWS environment by analyzing AWS CloudTrail event logs, Amazon VPC flow logs, and DNS logs to identify suspicious or anomalous behavior. As of 2025, Guard Duty includes extended threat detection that uses AI and machine learning to rapidly identify complex, multi-stage attack sequences, providing MITRE ACT mappings and prescriptive remediation recommendations. Why the other options are wrong? Option A is wrong because Amazon Inspector focuses on vulnerability scanning of EC2 instances and containers, not broad threat detection across logs and accounts. Option B is wrong because AWS Cloud HSM provides hardware-based key management and cryptographic operations, not monitoring or threat detection. Option C is wrong because AWS Shield protects mainly against DDoS attacks, but it is not a general-purpose threat detection and monitoring service like Guard Duty. Remember, Guard Duty equals guard on duty 24/7. It's always watching for threats in your AWS environment. Question 8. AWS Organizations provides which of the following benefits? Select 2. The options are A. Share the reserved EC2 instances amongst the member AWS accounts. B. Provision EC2 spot instances across the member AWS accounts. C. Volume discounts for Amazon EC2 and Amazon S3 aggregated across the member AWS accounts. D. Check vulnerabilities on EC2 instances across the member AWS accounts. E. Deploy patches on EC2 instances across the member AWS accounts. This question is asking about the key billing and cost-saving benefits that AWS Organizations offers when you have multiple AWS accounts. Focus on features related to sharing resources and cost consolidation across accounts in an organization. AWS Organizations is mainly about governance, billing, and resource sharing, not about operational tasks like patching or provisioning instances. The correct answer is A. Share the reserved EC2 instances amongst the member AWS accounts. C. Volume discounts for Amazon EC2 and Amazon S3 aggregated across the member AWS accounts. AWS Organizations allows reserved instances sharing, which enables reserved capacity to be utilized across different accounts within an AWS organization. When a department needs to run an EC2 instance that matches an existing RI, it automatically uses the centrally purchased capacity, making option A correct. AWS Organizations also provides consolidated billing, which aggregates usage across all member accounts to unlock volume based discounts for services like EC2 and S3, making option C correct. Note, as of June 1st, 2025, AWS implemented policy changes prohibiting RI sharing across different end customers within a single organization, but sharing within the same organization remains valid. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because AWS Organizations does not provision EC2 spot instances. It's a governance and billing service, not an instance provisioning tool. Option D is wrong because checking vulnerabilities on EC2 instances is done by Amazon Inspector, not AWS Organizations. Option E is wrong because deploying patches is handled by AWS Systems Manager Patch Manager, not AWS Organizations. Remember, organizations equals share RIs plus volume discounts. It's all about billing benefits, not operations. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 9. Which AWS service would you choose for a data processing project to store unstructured data? The options are A, Amazon DynamoDB, B, Amazon Aurora, C, Amazon Redshift, D, Amazon RDS. This question is asking which AWS service is best for storing unstructured data, meaning data that doesn't fit into neat rows and columns. Think about which database type is flexible and can store data in varying formats without requiring a fixed schema. The keyword here is unstructured, not rigidly organized like traditional relational databases. The correct answer is A, Amazon DynamoDB. Amazon DynamoDB is a fast, NoSQL key-value database that benefits from its schemaless architecture, making it ideal for unstructured and semi-structured data. As a distributed NoSQL database, DynamoDB's flexible schema ensures easy data management without needing to predefine table schemas beyond the primary key. NoSQL databases like DynamoDB are considered ideal for unstructured data because of their flexible structure, high performance, and ability to easily scale out using distributed architecture. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because Amazon Aurora is a relational database, MySQL or PostgreSQL compatible, designed for structured data with fixed schemas and tables. Option C is wrong because Amazon Redshift is a data warehouse optimized for structured data analytics and SQL queries, not for storing unstructured data. Option D is wrong because Amazon RDS is a managed relational database service that supports databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server, all of which require structured data with defined schemas. Remember, DynamoDB equals dynamic data equals no fixed schema, perfect for flexible, unstructured data. Question 10. Which of the following is the best practice for application architecture on AWS Cloud? The options are A, build loosely coupled components. B, use synchronous communication between components. C, build tightly coupled components. D, build monolithic applications. This question is asking about AWS best practices for designing applications in the cloud. Think about how to build systems that are flexible, scalable, and resilient, where one component's failure doesn't bring down the entire application. The focus is on creating independence between different parts of your application. The correct answer is A, build loosely coupled components. Building loosely coupled components is a fundamental AWS best practice because it allows each part of your application to operate independently. If one component fails or needs updating, it won't bring down the entire system, improving resilience and scalability. Services like Amazon SQS, SNS, and EventBridge help you build loosely coupled architectures by enabling asynchronous communication between components. Why the other options are wrong? Option B is wrong because synchronous communication creates dependencies where one component must wait for another, reducing scalability and increasing the risk of cascading failures. Option C is wrong because tightly coupled components depend heavily on each other, making the system harder to scale, maintain, and modify without affecting other parts. Option D is wrong because monolithic applications bundle everything into one large application, making it difficult to scale individual parts and harder to update without affecting the entire system. Quick memory tip. Remember, loose is better, Lego blocks, not concrete. Build components that can work and scale independently. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours.